Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will immerse ourselves in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a novella by Robert Louis Stevenson, published in 1886. The story explores the duality of human nature, encapsulating themes of good versus evil within a single individual. Set against the backdrop of Victorian London, the narrative delves into the life of Dr. Henry Jekyll, a respected scientist, and his darker counterpart, Mr. Edward Hyde. This tale of transformation and moral conflict has cemented its place as a classic in horror and psychological fiction. Plot summary. On a foggy, quiet street in London, Mr. Utterson, a lawyer of rugged demeanor, walks beside his cousin, Mr. Richard Enfield. They pass by an old, neglected building with a sinister, blistered door, prompting Enfield to recall a strange incident. In the early hours of a winter morning, Enfield witnessed a small, deformed man named Mr. Hyde trample a young girl. Outraged by Hyde's cruelty, Enfield and other witnesses demanded retribution. Hyde, eerily calm and sneering, produced a check signed by a respected figure to cover the damages, an act that left Enfield disturbed, as the signature belonged to someone beyond reproach, though he refrains from mentioning the name. As the pair continues, Mr. Utterson grows increasingly troubled. He recognizes the name Hyde from a document locked away in his safe, Dr. Henry Jekyll's will, which unsettlingly names Edward Hyde as the sole heir to Jekyll's estate should Jekyll die or disappear. This clause had long baffled Utterson, and the mention of Hyde deepens his concern for his friend. Utterson, determined to understand Hyde's hold over Jekyll, begins his investigation. Later that night, Utterson visits Dr. Lanyon, a mutual friend of his and Jekyll's. Lanyon, however, reveals that he has fallen out with Jekyll over scientific differences and has heard nothing of Hyde. Utterson leaves Lanyon more troubled than ever, resolving to seek answers. He begins to haunt the streets around Hyde's usual haunts, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious figure. One fateful evening, his patience is rewarded. Under the dim streetlights, Utterson finally confronts Mr. Hyde as he approaches the very door Enfield described. Hyde, pale and dwarfish, exudes an inexplicable malevolence, his every movement radiating a strange, almost primal darkness. Utterson asks to see Jekyll, but Hyde coldly informs him that Jekyll is away. This brief, chilling encounter only intensifies Utterson's determination to protect his friend. In the weeks that follow, Utterson attempts to speak to Jekyll about his will, but Jekyll assures him that he has everything under control. Jekyll is evasive about Hyde, but insists that Utterson need not worry. Still, Utterson remains unconvinced, sensing a dark secret lingering behind his friend's composed demeanor. Time passes, and a horrifying event shocks London. Sir Danvers Carew, a well-respected member of society, is brutally murdered in the dead of night. A witness describes a small man attacking Carew with a cane in a violent frenzy, leaving his body shattered and lifeless on the cobblestones. When the broken cane is discovered at the scene, Utterson recognizes it as one he had once gifted to Jekyll. The murderer is identified as Edward Hyde, and a manhunt begins, but Hyde has vanished without a trace. Utterson rushes to Jekyll's house, but the doctor is deeply shaken. He claims that Hyde has disappeared for good and that he is finally free from his influence. Relieved, Utterson accepts Jekyll's word, though he remains uneasy. Over the next few months, Jekyll seems to return to his old self, hosting dinners and resuming his charitable work as if the dark cloud over him has lifted. Yet peace proves fleeting. Utterson notices a gradual change in Jekyll. His old friend becomes increasingly reclusive, shutting himself in his laboratory for days on end. Utterson grows concerned, but Jekyll refuses to see him, leaving only cryptic messages about suffering and the need for isolation. One evening, Utterson receives a disturbing visit from Poole, Jekyll's loyal servant. Poole insists that something is terribly wrong, that his master's voice has changed, and that he fears for Jekyll's life. Driven by fear, Utterson agrees to accompany Poole to Jekyll's house. Together, they arrive at Jekyll's residence, where the household staff trembles in fear. Poole reveals that a strange figure has been lurking in Jekyll's laboratory for days, refusing to show his face. Utterson, armed with an axe, breaks down the door to the laboratory, only to find the body of Edward Hyde, dressed in Jekyll's clothes, lying lifeless on the floor. There is no sign of Jekyll. A vial of poison lies nearby, suggesting that Hyde, perhaps in desperation, has taken his own life. Utterson, now faced with the unspeakable mystery of Jekyll's disappearance, opens a letter left behind by the doctor. In this confession, the full horror of Jekyll's tale unfolds. Dr. Jekyll had long been fascinated by the dual nature of man, the struggle between good and evil within each soul. In his scientific pursuits, he concocted a potion that allowed him to separate these opposing forces, giving physical form to his darker side, Edward Hyde. As Hyde, Jekyll could indulge in his basest desires without fear of consequence, free from the restraints of morality and reputation. At first, the transformation was a liberation, a way to experience freedom from the rigid moral structure that bound him. But over time, Hyde grew stronger, and Jekyll's ability to control the transformation weakened. Hyde's appetite for cruelty deepened, culminating in the murder of Sir Danvers Carew. Horrified by what he had unleashed, Jekyll resolved to suppress Hyde forever, but the darker side of his nature proved too powerful. The final revelation shakes Utterson to his core. Jekyll and Hyde were one and the same. The man Utterson had tried to save had been fighting a losing battle against the darkness within. In the end, Jekyll could no longer contain Hyde's growing influence, and with the last of his willpower fading, he chose death over becoming Hyde permanently. Utterson leaves the house in silence, burdened with the tragic knowledge of his friend's fate. A cautionary tale of the dangers of tampering with the duality of human nature and the irreversible consequences of losing oneself to the darker impulses within. Looking for more great reads? Be sure to check out other books by Robert Louis Stevenson. Find them in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Robert Louis Stevenson's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.